The white lights of the laboratory reflected off the polished metal surfaces, giving the room a sterile glow. Dr. Zilkther moved across the room with practiced precision, 6 slender limbs working in perfect coordination, 4 of them arranged instruments while 2 adjusted the settings on the monitoring equipment. Specimen arrival in 3 minutes, announced the automated system. Dr. Zilkther's skin rippled slightly, the pale blue surface changing to a deeper azure, a sign of mild anticipation in the Vexillion species. After studying over 3,000 different life forms from across the galaxy, the doctor expected this assignment to be routine. Humans were classified as stable carbon-based organisms in all preliminary reports. Lab Assistant Nexora, is the monitoring chamber prepared? Dr. Zilkther asked, compound eyes scanning the readouts. Nexora, younger and with a greenish tint to her skin, nodded. Yes, Doctor. Environmental controls set to Earth standard. Atmospheric mix adjusted for human comfort. Monitoring sensors calibrated. Good. Remember, this is a diplomatic assignment. The human has volunteered. This is not a capture or forced study. The door to the lab slid open with a soft hiss. 2 Vexillion security officers entered, flanking a creature that made Dr. Zilkther pause despite years of xenobiological experience. The human stood on 2 legs, remarkably similar to some bipedal species from the outer systems, but something about him seemed oddly balanced. His skin was a light brown, not the shifting colors of Vexillion skin. He had only 2 arms, yet moved with surprising grace for such a limited form. John Miller, one of the officers announced. Human male from the Earth region known as Ohio? The human smiled, showing flat white teeth. Nice to meet you, Doctor. Hope the trip wasn't too rough on your equipment. I've been told I'm heavier than I look. Dr. Zilkther was surprised by the ease with which the human spoke. Most species required weeks of language adaptation. The universal translator is functioning well, the doctor noted. You understand me clearly? Sure do. Your people gave me a neural language patch before I left Earth. Feels weird having all these new words in my head, but it works great. Dr. Zilkther gestured toward the monitoring chamber, a large room visible through a transparent wall. That will be your living space during the observation period. It has been designed to match Earth conditions. You will find food, water, rest facilities, and entertainment options inside. John walked to the chamber, looking around with obvious curiosity. Fancy, much nicer than my apartment back home. As John entered the chamber, Dr. Zilkther turned to the control panel and activated the preliminary scan. A beam of soft blue light passed over the human from head to foot. Please remain still during the initial scan, Nexora instructed. No problem, John replied, standing motionless as the light mapped his entire body, inside and out. The results began appearing on Dr. Zilkther's display. The doctor's top limbs moved rapidly across the controls, adjusting parameters and zooming in on various systems. Fascinating structure, Dr. Zilkther muttered. Redundant organs, extensive repair. Capabilities, highly adaptable immune response. Is that good? John asked. It is expected, Dr. Zilkther replied carefully. Your species has been studied before, though never in such controlled conditions. What the doctor didn't mention was the strange pattern appearing in the cellular mapping. There was something unusual about the human's regenerative capabilities, a pattern that didn't match anything in the xenobiological archives. We will begin with basic physical assessments, Dr. Zilkther announced. Nothing invasive today. We simply need baseline readings of your capabilities. Over the next several hours, John performed a series of tests, lifting weights, running on a treadmill, solving puzzles, and providing tissue samples. Dr. Zilkther observed with growing interest as the data accumulated. Your strength-to-mass ratio is higher than our models predicted, the doctor noted. John shrugged. I work construction back home, spend most days lifting heavy things. And you've never undergone genetic enhancement? No artificial augmentation? No, nothing like that. Just regular old human here. As evening approached, Dr. Zilkther dismissed Nexora and the other lab staff. Once alone, the doctor accessed the secure terminal and opened a classified file. It contained fragmented reports from various encounters with humans, military assessments, diplomatic observations, and covert studies. One report particularly caught the doctor's attention. Subject recovered from injuries that would be fatal to most species. Suggests either unknown medical intervention or extraordinary natural healing. Dr. Zilkther looked through the transparent wall at John, who was now eating dinner. Could it be possible? The doctor had dismissed such reports as exaggerations or misunderstandings. All life in the galaxy followed the same fundamental principles. Damage was damage. Healing always resulted in weaker structures than the original, yet the cellular scans showed something different. The human cells contained patterns that suggested they could not just repair damage, but potentially become stronger from it. Dr. Zilkther's skin darkened to a deep blue, the Vexillian expression of deep concern. If true, this would challenge the very foundation of Vexillian biological understanding. Their entire civilization was built around the principle of stability, unchanging, perfect stability. The idea that an organism could grow beyond its original parameters was not just foreign. It was heretical. The doctor quickly closed the file when John looked up from his meal and waved. "Everything okay out there, Doc?" You turned really blue all of a sudden. "Yes, everything is proceeding as expected," Dr. Zilkther lied. "Please continue your meal. Tomorrow we will begin more detailed observations." Later that night, after John had gone to sleep, Dr. Zilkther returned to the lab. The doctor stood before the monitoring chamber, watching the gentle rise and fall of the human's chest. "Computer, adjust scan parameters. Focus on cellular regeneration patterns in tissue sample 3. The screen displayed the results, a simulation of how the human cells would respond to minor damage. According to all known biological principles, the cells should repair to approximately 97% of original functionality. The simulation showed them repairing to 103%. "Run simulation again," Dr. Zilkther ordered, voice trembling slightly. "Same result. It wasn't possible." It violated the conservation of biological integrity, the principle that no living thing could exceed its original design. Yet the evidence was there. Dr. Zilkther moved closer to the transparent wall, studying the sleeping human with new eyes. This wasn't just another specimen. This was something unprecedented, something that could change everything. The doctor's skin shifted to a color never before seen in the lab, a swirl of blue fear and yellow fascination. The human would need to be tested. Not just standard protocols, but new experiments designed to verify this impossible ability. If humans could truly grow stronger from damage, if they could exceed their original limitations. Dr. Zilkther turned away from the chamber, mind racing with implications. The Vexillian Empire had encountered thousands of species, but none like this. None that challenged the very laws that the Empire believed governed all life. Tomorrow, the real work would begin, and Dr. Zilkther suspected nothing would ever be the same again. 3 weeks passed in a blur of tests and observations. Dr. Zilkther worked longer hours than usual, often staying in the lab well after the other staff had left. The doctor's skin had settled into a permanent shade of deep indigo, a sign of intense concentration among Vexillians. John Miller had proven to be an excellent subject. He followed instructions well, answered questions honestly, and seemed genuinely interested in helping the aliens understand human biology. He had even started teaching Nex Aura simple Earth games during break periods. "You seem troubled, Doctor," Nex Aura said one morning as they prepared the exercise chamber. "Has the human specimen shown unfavorable results?" Dr. Zilkther's upper limbs twitched slightly. "Not unfavorable, simply ... unexpected." Before Nex Aura could ask more questions, John entered the main laboratory area, dressed in the exercise clothing provided for him. "Morning, Doc. Morning, Nex. What's on the schedule today?" John asked, stretching his arms above his head. Dr. Zilkther consulted the day's protocol on a thin, transparent screen. "Today we will test physical endurance and recovery patterns. We have prepared several exercise devices based on Earth designs. The exercise chamber contained equipment that resembled Earth gym machines, though with slight modifications. John looked them over with approval. Nice setup. Reminds me of my gym back home, just shinier. Dr. Zilkther activated the monitoring systems. Please begin with the resistance apparatus. 15 repetitions, then rest for 30 seconds. Repeat for 3 cycles. John nodded and moved to the machine. As he began lifting the weighted bar, sensors tracked every movement of his muscles, every change in his breathing and heart rate. Fascinating, Dr. Zilkther murmured, watching the data flow across the screen. His muscle fibers are experiencing micro-tears, yet his performance is not decreasing. Nexora leaned closer to the display. Is that normal for his species? According to their medical literature, yes. But seeing it happen in real time, Dr. Zilkther's voice trailed off. After completing the weight exercises, John moved to a running platform. As he ran, Dr. Zilkther increased the resistance gradually. John's breathing grew heavier, his face flushed, but he maintained his pace. Heart rate elevated but stable, Nexora reported. Oxygen consumption optimal. Dr. Zilkther was about to end the session when a warning flashed on the screen. John had reached the safety limit programmed into the system. Please stop, John. You have reached maximum exertion levels. John slowed to a walk, breathing hard but smiling. That was a good workout. Been a while since I pushed myself that hard. As he stepped off the platform, John reached for a towel on a nearby rack. The metal edge of the rack had a small manufacturing defect, a tiny sharp edge where 2 pieces joined together. As John grabbed the towel, the edge sliced across his palm. Ouch! John pulled his hand back, looking at the cut. Blood welled up along a thin line across his palm. Dr. Zilkther moved quickly, all 6 limbs in motion. Nexora, prepare the medical kit. John, please remain calm. John looked more surprised than concerned. It's just a small cut, Doc. Nothing serious. Dr. Zilkther guided John to a treatment chair. This was an unexpected development, but also an opportunity. The doctor had been planning to test human healing capabilities under controlled conditions, but this accident provided a natural case study. This will sting slightly, Dr. Zilkther said, applying a clear solution to the wound. John winced, but remained still as the doctor placed a thin, transparent film over the cut. This dressing will protect the wound while allowing us to monitor the healing process. Please avoid using this hand for strenuous activities for the next 3 days. John nodded. No problem. Had worse cuts on the construction site. Dr. Zilkther activated a specialized scanner and focused it on John's hand. We will take regular scans to document the healing progression. After John returned to his quarters to rest, Dr. Zilkther and Nexora reviewed the initial scan results. The cellular response is remarkable, Dr. Zilkther said. Already his body has initiated multiple healing mechanisms simultaneously. Nexora's skin flickered with patches of yellow, a sign of curiosity. How does this compare to Vexillian healing? There is no comparison, Dr. Zilkther replied. Our wounds heal through simple regeneration to approximately 95% of original tissue strength. The process is slow, methodical, and follows predictable patterns. The doctor gestured at the screen showing John's cellular activity. This is chaotic, aggressive, and incredibly efficient. His body has mobilized resources from throughout his system. Over the next 2 days, Dr. Zilkther took scans every 6 hours. The progression was even more remarkable than expected. By the end of the 2nd day, the cut had closed completely. But it was the scan on the morning of the 3rd day that changed everything. Dr. Zilkther stared at the results. Skin darkening to almost black, the Vexillian expression of shock. This cannot be correct, the doctor whispered. Run the analysis. Again, Nexora repeated the scan and analysis. The results were the same. The new tissue that had formed along the cut was 7% stronger than the original skin. When John arrived for his morning examination, Dr. Zilkther carefully removed the transparent dressing. The cut has healed well, the doctor said, trying to keep all 6 limbs steady. How does it feel? John flexed his hand. Feels fine. Might be a little tight along the cut, but that's normal. Normal? Dr. Zilkther's voice rose slightly. You expected this outcome? Sure, that's how cuts heal. Sometimes they even leave a callus that's tougher than the original skin. Dr. Zilkther's compound eyes fixed on John's face, searching for signs of deception. There were none. The human genuinely considered this miraculous process to be ordinary. John, would you say that injuries, when properly healed, can actually make you stronger? John shrugged. Sometimes, yeah. That's basically how working out works. You stress the muscle. It gets tiny tears, then it rebuilds stronger. Same with bones. A healed fracture can be stronger at the breakpoint than it was before. The implications struck Dr. Zilkther like a physical blow. The Vexillian civilization was built on the principle of perfect, unchanging stability. Their bodies, their society, their very understanding of progress, all based on maintaining optimal stasis. Humans didn't just heal damage, they transformed it into improvement. They didn't return to stability. They evolved beyond it. That night, after all staff had left, Dr. Zilkther sent a confidential message to the Vexillian Science Council. Request immediate private consultation regarding human research findings. Discovery challenges fundamental biological principles. As the doctor waited for a response, a new scan of John's hand appeared on the screen. The healing tissue was now 10% stronger than the original. Dr. Zilkther's skin turned a color no other Vexillian had ever displayed, a swirling mixture of fear, wonder, and something entirely new, possibility. Dr. Zilkther stood nervously in the center of the laboratory, all 6 limbs perfectly still in the formal posture of scientific presentation. The doctor had been dreading this moment for days. Council Representative Vex Millar would arrive any minute to evaluate the human research project. The laboratory had been cleaned until every surface gleamed. Nexora had arranged all the data screens to display the most impressive findings. John Miller sat in his living chamber, unaware of the political storm brewing around him. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Representative Vex Millar entered, flanked by 2 security officers. Unlike most Vexillians, whose skin shifted between blues and greens, Vex Millar's skin was a permanent deep purple, the color of authority. Dr. Zilkther, the representative said, inclining his head slightly. Your message indicated findings of urgent importance. Dr. Zilkther's skin rippled, with nervous blue patterns. Yes, Representative. Thank you for coming personally. What we have discovered about human biology may have significant implications for Vexillian science. Vex Millar moved to the observation window, studying John, who was reading a book in his chamber. This is the specimen. It appears unremarkable. Appearances can be deceiving, Dr. Zilkther said, moving to the main display console. Allow me to show you our findings. The doctor activated a sequence of images showing John's hand healing after the cut. The final images highlighted the increased strength of the healed tissue. As you can see, the human didn't merely repair the damage. The new tissue is stronger than the original. Vex Millar's eyes narrowed. That violates the conservation of biological integrity. All healing results in weaker structures than the original. This is a fundamental law of biology. And that has been our understanding, Dr. Zilkther agreed. But the human cells don't follow this pattern. They use damage as a template for improvement. The representative's skin darkened. Your instruments must be malfunctioning. We verified with 3 separate systems, Dr. Zilkther said. And this isn't limited to surface wounds. We've documented similar patterns in muscle development, bone density, even neural pathways. Dr. Zilkther displayed a series of brain scans taken over the past 2 months. The human has been learning our language without the translator. Look at these new neural connections forming. Each day, his brain physically reorganizes to accommodate new knowledge. Vex Millar stepped back from the display. This is deeply disturbing. If widely known, this information could destabilize our understanding of life itself. The representative turned to face Dr. Zilkther directly. I must see a demonstration, Dr. Zilkther hesitated. We would need the human's consent for any new tests. Then obtain it, Vexmalar said sharply when John was brought into the main laboratory and introduced to the representative. He seemed untroubled by the tension in the room. Nice to meet you, John said, extending his hand in the human greeting gesture. Vexmalar ignored it. Dr. Zilkther explained the situation. John, Representative Vexmalar would like to observe a demonstration of human muscle development. This would involve a controlled exercise session that would cause minor muscle strain, followed by rest and recovery. Would you consent to this procedure? John shrugged. Sure, I could use a workout anyway. I'm feeling a bit cooped up. The exercise chamber was prepared with monitoring equipment. John changed into exercise clothing and began a series of increasingly difficult resistance exercises. Dr. Zilkther carefully calibrated the equipment to push John's muscles to their limit without causing injury. After 40 minutes, John's muscles were trembling with exertion. Sweat covered his skin. Cellular scans show extensive micro-damage to muscle fibers, Nexora reported quietly. Enough, Vexmalar ordered. How long until we can observe the results? Approximately 48 hours for full recovery and adaptation, Dr. Zilkther said. The representative's skin darkened further. I will return in 2 days. This specimen is not to leave this facility under any circumstances. No communication with other humans. No reports to be filed until I have reviewed all findings personally. After Vexmalar left, John toweled off his sweat and looked questioningly at Dr. Zilkther. What was that all about? Your boss seemed pretty intense. Dr. Zilkther's skin had faded to a pale, worried blue. Representative Vexmalar is concerned about some of our findings regarding human biology. What's concerning about it? I'm just, a normal guy. That's precisely what concerns him, Dr. Zilkther said quietly. In Vexillian culture, stability is our highest value. Our bodies, once mature, remain unchanged until death. We heal injuries, but always to a lesser state than the original. The concept of growing stronger from damage is ... alien to us. John laughed, then stopped when he realized the doctor was serious. Wait, you guys don't get stronger from exercise? You don't build calluses or tan in the sun? You don't learn new skills that change your brain? No, Dr. Zilkther said. Once we reach maturity, we are complete, perfect, unchanging. John sat down, looking troubled. That sounds terrible. No offense, but how do you ever improve? Improvement comes through technology, not biology. We perfect our environment, our tools, our society, not ourselves. Later that evening, after John had returned to his chamber, Nexora approached Dr. Zilkther with a worried expression. Doctor, I've been monitoring communications. The Science Council has called an emergency session. They're discussing the human problem. Dr. Zilkther's skin paled. What are they saying? Many are calling for immediate termination of all contact with Earth. They fear humans represent a destabilizing influence. Dr. Zilkther moved to the observation window, watching John as he performed simple stretching exercises in his chamber. They fear what they don't understand, the doctor said softly. I've been talking with him, Nexora admitted. When you weren't in the lab? He told me about human concepts like growth mindset and becoming stronger through adversity. It's fascinating. It's dangerous, Dr. Zilkther warned. Such ideas contradict thousands of years of Vexillian philosophy. Perhaps our philosophy needs to evolve, Nexora suggested, her skin flushing a bold green, the Vexillian color of new ideas. Dr. Zilkther turned sharply. Never say such things outside this laboratory. The council would view it as contamination of thought. The next morning, Dr. Zilkther arrived early to find John and Nexora engaged in conversation. They fell silent when the doctor entered. Nexora, prepare the scanning equipment. We need to document the muscle recovery process before the representative returns tomorrow. As Nexora moved to the equipment, John caught Dr. Zilkther's eye. Doc, I think I understand now why your people are freaked out by humans. To you, we must seem chaotic, always changing, never settled. Dr. Zilkther's skin rippled with surprise. That is ... an accurate assessment. But have you considered that stability might not be the highest good? That change might be necessary for life to thrive? Before Dr. Zilkther could answer, the laboratory door slid open. 2 security officers entered, followed by Vex Millar, a day earlier than expected. "Dr. Zilkther," the representative said, his voice cold. "The council has reached a decision regarding the human specimen." The doctor's skin turned almost white with fear. "What decision?" "The human represents a fundamental threat to Vexillian understanding of life itself. All research is to be terminated immediately. The specimen will be placed in stasis until further notice." John stood up straight, suddenly alert. "Hey, now, that wasn't our agreement. I volunteered for study, not to be frozen." Vex Millar ignored him, speaking only to Dr. Zilkther. "You have 1 day to compile all research data for review. After that, this project will be classified at the highest level." It never happened. As the security officers moved toward John, Dr. Zilkther stepped between them. The doctor's skin shifted to a color never before seen in the laboratory, a brilliant gold streaked with determination. "No," Dr. Zilkther said firmly. "I cannot allow this." The laboratory fell silent. Dr. Zilkther stood firm between John and the security officers, all 6 limbs spread in a protective stance. The doctor's golden skin color, never before seen on a Vexillian, seemed to glow under the bright lab lights. Representative Vex Millar's eyes narrowed. "You dare to interfere with a council directive? This is unprecedented." "So is what we've discovered," Dr. Zilkther replied, voice steady despite the inner turmoil. "You cannot simply lock away knowledge because it challenges our beliefs." "I can and I will," Vex Millar said coldly. "Security, remove Dr. Zilkther. From the laboratory, use restraints if necessary." The 2 officers moved forward hesitantly. No Vexillian had ever physically restrained another outside of medical emergencies. It was considered deeply uncivilized. Nexora suddenly stepped forward, her skin flushing a bright green. "Representative, please. Before taking such extreme measures, at least review the complete data. What we've learned about humans could be valuable." Vex Millar's gaze shifted to the young assistant. "You too? Has this human contaminated everyone in this facility?" John had remained quiet, watching the scene unfold with growing concern. Now he spoke. "Look, I don't want to cause trouble. If my being here is such a problem, I can request to be returned to Earth." "It is not that simple," Vex Millar said, finally acknowledging John directly. "The knowledge of what you are cannot be allowed to spread. It contradicts the very foundation of our understanding of life." Dr. Zilkther saw an opportunity. "Representative, please. Let me show you one more discovery before you make your final decision. It may help you understand why this research is too valuable to suppress." Vex Millar hesitated, then nodded stiffly. "You have 5 minutes." Dr. Zilkther moved quickly to the main console and brought up a series of brain scans. These are comparative neural patterns. The top row shows a Vexillian brain at various ages: childhood, adolescence, and maturity. Notice how the patterns stabilize completely at maturity and remain unchanged for the rest of life. The doctor then displayed the second row of images. These are John's brain scans taken every 2 weeks during his stay here. Look at the changes. New neural pathways forming, others being pruned away, constant reorganization. "We know humans have primitive brains," Vex Millar said dismissively. "This is hardly surprising." "It's not primitive," Dr. Zilkther insisted. "It's adaptive." "John, please demonstrate the language test." John nodded and cleared his throat. He then spoke a perfect sentence in the complex Vexillian language without using the translator. Vex Millar's skin paled in shock. "How is this possible?" "The human language centers couldn't possibly process our linguistic structures." "They couldn't," Dr. Zilkther agreed, "but they changed. They grew new connections. His brain physically rewired itself to accommodate new knowledge." The doctor pulled up another image, a comparison between John's brain from his first day and his brain now. The changes were dramatic. "He learned our language in weeks," Dr. Zilkther said softly. "A feat we believed impossible for non-Vexillians." And he did it by changing his own brain structure. Vexmalar stared at the images. For the first time, his authoritative demeanor faltered. Our species hasn't had a significant evolutionary adaptation. In 50,000 years, Dr. Zilkther continued, we reached what we believed was perfection, and then we stopped. We froze ourselves in time. That is our strength, Vexmalar insisted, but his voice lacked conviction. Is it, Dr. Zilkther asked, or is it our greatest weakness? While we have remained unchanged, other species continue to evolve. Humans have evolved more in 10,000 years than most species do in millions. John spoke up again, his voice gentle. On Earth, we have a saying, adapt or die. Living things that can't change when their environment changes don't survive. Vexmalar turned away from the displays, his skin shifting through various colors as he struggled with conflicting thoughts. The Council will never accept this perspective. Stability is the cornerstone of our civilization. Dr. Zilkther moved closer to the representative. What if stability is just another word for stagnation? What if, in our quest for perfection, we've actually stopped growing as a species? Before Vexmalar could respond, the laboratory door opened again. A senior member of the Science Council entered, flanked by more security officers. Dr. Zilkther recognized him immediately. Chief Scientist Voxler, the most respected scientific mind in the Empire. Representative Vexmalar, the Chief Scientist said, I received your report about the human research. I decided to see for myself before the full Council votes on termination. Vexmalar straightened, his authoritative purple color returning. Chief Scientist, I was just about to secure the specimen for stasis. These researchers have become compromised by exposure to human ideas. Voxler moved slowly into the room, his ancient eyes taking in everything. Unlike other Vexillians whose skin changed color with emotion, the Chief Scientist's skin had faded to a pale gray with extreme age. Dr. Zilkther, Voxler said, ignoring Vexmalar. You were once my most promising student. Your message claimed that humans violate the conservation of biological integrity. Show me your evidence. For the next hour, Dr. Zilkther presented all the findings. John demonstrated various physical and mental abilities, including his newly acquired Vexillian language skills. Nexora explained how human cellular regeneration differed from anything documented in the xenobiological archives. Throughout the presentation, Voxler remained silent, absorbing everything. When it was complete, he turned to Vexmalar. Leave us, the Chief Scientist ordered. I wish to speak with the researchers and the human alone. But the Council directive, Vexmalar began. I am the Chief Scientist. I will determine what the Council needs to know. Voxler's voice left no room for argument. After Vexmalar and the security officers had gone, Voxler's stern demeanor softened slightly. In all my 300 years of scientific research, I have never encountered anything like this, the old scientist said. If your findings are correct, we must reconsider many of our fundamental assumptions about life itself. The findings are correct, Dr. Zilkther said firmly. Humans don't just heal, they transform. They become more than they were. It defies everything we understand about life. Voxler turned to John. And this is common among your species? This ability to grow beyond your original design? John nodded. It's how we survive. We're not the strongest or fastest creatures on our planet, but we can adapt to almost anything. Our bodies change, our minds learn, we pass knowledge to the next generation. The Chief Scientist was quiet for a long moment. Dr. Zilkther, you realize what this means for our society? For thousands of years, we have believed that stability is the highest achievement of any civilization. Our entire culture is built around maintaining perfect equilibrium. I know, Dr. Zilkther said quietly. But what if we're wrong? What if change isn't something to be feared, but embraced? Voxler's ancient eyes studied the doctor carefully. Your skin color has changed, this gold hue. It has never been documented in our species. Dr. Zilkther looked down at his limbs in surprise. The golden color remained, steady and unflickering. Perhaps, Voxler said softly, you are the first. Evidence that Vexillions can still change after all. The Grand Council chamber of the Vexillian Empire was rarely used for scientific debates. Its vast circular space, with rising tiers of seats surrounding a central speaking platform, was designed for political discussions and ceremonial events. Today, however, it was packed with scientists, government officials, and military leaders, all gathered to hear Dr. Zilkther's presentation on human biology. In the 5 days since Chief Scientist Voxler had visited the laboratory, events had moved with surprising speed. Instead of suppressing the research, Voxler had called for an open scientific review. This unprecedented decision had sent shockwaves through Vexillian society. Dr. Zilkther stood on the central platform, skin still shimmering with that strange golden color that had not faded. John Miller stood nearby, looking uncomfortable in formal Vexillian attire. Nexora waited at a data console, ready to display the research findings. The council recognizes Dr. Zilkther, lead researcher of xenobiology. Voxler announced from his position in the highest tier. You may present your findings. Dr. Zilkther took a deep breath. Honored council members, what I am about to share will challenge our most fundamental beliefs about life itself. For 50,000 years, we have built our civilization on the principle of perfect stability. We have believed that once maturity is reached, all living things must remain unchanged until death. Any deviation from this pattern has been considered a flaw, a weakness, or an aberration. The doctor gestured toward John. This human has shown. U.S. another possibility. Humans don't just repair damage, they grow stronger from it. They don't just learn information, they physically reshape their brains to accommodate new knowledge. They don't maintain stability, they continuously evolve. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Representative Vex Millar stood from his seat. This directly contradicts the conservation of biological integrity. It is scientifically impossible. I believe so too, Dr. Zilkther replied calmly, until I saw the evidence. For the next hour, the doctor presented the research in meticulous detail. John demonstrated his physical capabilities and his newly acquired Vexillian language skills. The council members watched with growing unease as their fundamental understanding of biology was challenged. When the presentation concluded, Vex Millar rose again. This is more dangerous than I feared. If such information spreads, it could destabilize our entire society. Our people might begin to question the very foundations of our civilization. Perhaps they should, Dr. Zilkther said boldly. For 50,000 years we have not evolved. Not physically, not socially, not philosophically. We reached what we thought was perfection, and then we stopped. But is that truly perfection, or is it stagnation? The chamber erupted in angry voices. Voxler called for order, but the debate continued to rage. Some council members supported Dr. Zilkther's perspective, while others called for the research to be suppressed and the human specimen returned to Earth immediately. As the argument grew more heated, Nexora suddenly stepped forward. Honored Council, I request permission to speak. This was so unexpected that the chamber fell silent. Junior researchers never addressed the council directly. Voxler nodded. Speak, lab assistant. Nexora. Nexora moved to stand beside Dr. Zilkther, her skin flushing a bold green. While working with Dr. Zilkther and the human John Miller, I became curious about something. If humans can adapt and grow stronger, could Vexillians once do the same? Have we truly lost that ability, or have we simply forgotten how to use it? She activated a small device on her wrist. A holographic display appeared, showing microscopic images of cells. These are my cells, taken 2 months ago when the human first arrived. She switched to another image. And these are my cells today. Even from a distance, the differences were visible. The cell structures in the second image were more complex, more vibrant. What have you done? Vex Millar demanded, his voice shaking. I have been experimenting on myself, Nexora admitted. Using principles derived from studying human biology, I developed a technique to reactivate dormant genetic pathways in Vexillian cells. Pathways that have been inactive for 50,000 years. The chamber exploded into chaos. Council members. shouted questions and accusations. Security officers moved closer to the central platform. Voxler called repeatedly for order. Finally, the chief scientist's voice cut through the noise. "Silence! This is a scientific council, not a mob." Lab Assistant Nex Aura, are you claiming you have induced biological change in your own cells? Yes, Chief Scientist, Nex Aura replied steadily. The changes are small but measurable. My cellular repair rate has increased by 12%. My neuroplasticity has improved by 8%. These are modest improvements, but they prove something profound. Vexillions have not lost the ability to adapt and grow. We have simply suppressed it in our pursuit of perfect stability. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Dr. Zilkther looked at his young assistant with new respect. While he had been focused on understanding human biology, she had taken the next logical step. Voxler slowly descended from his high seat to the central platform. The ancient scientist studied Nex Aura's cellular displays with intense concentration. If this is true, he said finally, it changes everything. He turned to address the full council. For 50 millennia, we have believed that stability is the highest achievement of life. We have built our entire civilization around maintaining perfect equilibrium. But what if this human is right? What if stability is just another word for death? The chief scientist gestured toward John. This species has existed for a mere fraction of our history, yet they have achieved technological progress comparable to our own. They have spread across their world, adapting to every environment. They heal from injuries that would kill us. They learn at rates we can barely comprehend. Voxler's ancient eyes swept across the chamber. I have lived for 300 years. In that time, our society has remained largely unchanged. We add new technology, yes, but we ourselves do not grow. We do not transform. Perhaps that is why, despite our head start of thousands of years, other younger species are now reaching our level. They evolve, we merely exist. Dr. Zilkther stepped forward, golden skin glowing brightly. The choice before us is clear. We can suppress this knowledge and continue as we have for 50,000 years, stable, unchanging, slowly fading into irrelevance. Or we can embrace change, relearn how to adapt and grow, and enter a new era of Vexillian civilization. As the council debated long into the night, John stood quietly on the platform, watching history unfold before him. He had come to the stars expecting to be studied. Instead, he had become the catalyst for a philosophical revolution. 3 days later, John prepared to board the ship that would take him back to Earth. Dr. Zilkther and Nex Aura came to say goodbye. Your council is still arguing about what to do with all this, John said, gesturing vaguely at the sky. Will you be okay? Dr. Zilkther's golden skin seemed to shine even brighter than before. Change is never easy, especially for a civilization that has avoided it for 50 millennia, but it has begun. Already, thousands of Vexillions are volunteering for Nex Aura's cellular activation treatment. And you? John asked. What will you do now? Continue my research, the doctor said. But now with a new purpose? Not just to understand other species, but to help my own remember how to grow. As John's ship departed from the Vexillian space station, he looked back at the swirling blue planet below. He wondered if the aliens understood the full implications of what they were beginning. Humanity had embraced change and growth as necessary aspects of life, but they had also learned that growth could be painful, even dangerous. The Vexillians were about to discover that growth meant vulnerability. It meant uncertainty, it meant risk, but it also meant life. Real life with all its messy, unpredictable, beautiful potential. John smiled and turned away from the viewport. He had a feeling that when humans and Vexillians met again, both species would be different. Both would have grown, and that was exactly as it should be.